Hello. Today I want to go over my Stormweaver Spark Choir build that I've been playing over the past several days, and I've min-maxed to a point at which it's pretty good. I will show you my current setup, but a little bit of a caveat is that it is a Temporalis build. It doesn't have to be Legacy, but the reason for this is because Temporalis reduces the cooldown of the proc rate of Lightning Bolt from our Choir. Without Temporalis, Choir has a 0.5 second cooldown. With Temporalis, it's 0.1. So Temporalis 5x's the single target damage of the build. If you do not have Temporalis, Legacy or non, then I would suggest going a Spirit Amulet and doing Cast on Crit. But it's pretty much the same outside of that. I'll just be going over my current setup because I believe that's the best setup. So originally, I was planning on playing this build as an actual Stormweaver in by proccing elemental storms. Because every single time you crit, there's an elemental storm that procs. It's like a duration lightning storm that does periodic damage. And with Temporalis, I got the storm cooldown down to a 0.33 seconds, so I spawned like 3 per second. But turns out this elemental storm does really bad damage. So even when I super min-maxed the build, it was maybe doing like, on average, let's say 500,000 DPS, where my Choir is doing like 1.5 million DPS. So my Choir setup is doing 3 times as much damage as 4 points of an Ascendancy. So since that didn't work, I dropped it, and I'm just going more of a Spark build for clear, and then Choir the Storm for single target. And since you need crit to proc the lightning bolts, my whole tree is basically crit. So crit here, crit up here, Mom, Eldritch Battery, Mana Stuff, crit, 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 and crit. So I have a lot of crit, and my Spark, which procs my lightning bolts, has 80% crit chance. And the links that I've chosen are Pierce, so that my sparks just last for 4 seconds, and then it can proc up to like, I don't know, 4 or 5 times. And so you need Pierce into your setup. Acceleration, so that when I'm going around the map, I want to hit the targets fast so that they die to my spark. Or in ideal situation, white mobs are all dying to my sparks so that my lightning bolts aren't proccing on white mobs. I want my lightning bolts to just proc on magic and rare mobs and or bosses. So I want my spark to have a decent enough damage, and I want my spark to actually hit targets fast. So this is where my setup comes. So Prosh speed is good to hit the targets fast. Pinpoint to increase my crit chance so that I can proc lightning bolt 60% more. Zenith because I have infinite mana while mapping, because I have 4 jewels that have 2% max mana on kill, so I get 8% mana every single kill, so I have 100% mana all the time. And since I am mind over matter and I don't have any energy shield or life, yeah, I can't die, really. So Zenith is really good damage multiplier. And then Arcane Tempo because it feels good to cast fast. And again, when I'm blinking around, if I blink onto a target, I want them to die instantly or they hit me because I don't have any evasion or armor. So they need to die fast. So the faster I get out sparks, the faster they die. Outside of that, my Lightning Bolt, which is my single target ability, is concentrated effect, because this really only, I mean, even without concentrated effect, the area around it is tiny, so making it even more tiny really doesn't have a downside. Considered casting, it works on this, even though it doesn't have a cast time. It's just it's 100% a trigger. It still works, so this is all upside. Spell Echo doubles the damage of Lightning Bolt. It's an insane. And then Ingenuity is good because I lower my proc rate from 0.09 to 0.07, so this is proccing. The more times it procs, the smoother the mapping feels. So that's good. For Orb of Storms, this is in my weapon swap. So my weapon swap is this staff, which is my Orb of Storms, and my Orb of Storms is just for single target. And I put it down so that it procs massive shocks. So you can see my weapon swap is extra shock here, and extra shock here. And since Elemental Storm sucks, and I double shock, my Orb of Storms provides two 38% shocks. So my weapon swap setup gives me, or makes the target take 30% more damage, which is nice. So I weapon swap Orb of Storms, drop it down, and it gives me exposure and two 38% shocks. And then if it's a hard boss and I feel like it's not going to die in a few seconds, I can throw Enfeeble on it. And then obviously I'm running Blink. Even though this is a Legacy Temporalis, even if you have a normal Temporalis, you're still going to run Blink. It's still really good movement speed. The only thing that it would change is if you don't have a Legacy Temporalis, then you would get movement speed on your boots. So you're not running at -3 movement speed, because that feels bad. And then I have 30 Spirit left, and there's really no good other auras, so I'm just running Mana Remnants, which is when we kill a mob, when we go over it, we just generate mana, and it's over mana. So even though I have like 7k mana, I can go over like a bunch of Remnant Balls, and it goes up to like 8k mana. So when I'm blinking around, if I blink into a pack and they hit me multiple times, if I have 8k mana, I'm more tanky because of it. Outside of that, the build is pretty straightforward. Again, we're just running Spark, it procs Lightning Bolts if it's a boss, drop down Orb of Storms, drop down Sigil Power, which is the implicit on staff, and then spam Spark inside your Orb of Storms because it procs additional procs, so it procs Lightning Bolt more often. Additionally, my gear is Legacy, so I have an Ingenuity and I have Legacy Dream Fragment, but if you're not running Legacy gear, you can still get up to like 4 to 5k mana. If you want to see more details about my gear, POB is in the description. But this build is pretty good. My single target is roughly 2 to 2.5 million DPS, depending on if I'm in the sigil for the entire duration. And my clear is decent because Spark is really good. One other thing is that I do not spec into these increased duration nodes, but I do have increased duration here from a Megalomaniac, and I am anointing duration here. And the reason I don't care for a super long duration Spark is, and also I'm not running a support that increases my duration. The reason I don't really care if it's a long duration Spark is because I'm moving around the map so fast that I want to kill mobs fast, and if they're lasting 5 seconds, which if I invested into long duration, my Spark would last 5 seconds, but I'm clearing so fast that the mobs are going to die in 5 seconds, so, or I'm going to be moving on to the next location anyway. So even though duration is a more multiplier, theoretically, it is not that great. So hope you like the build. Peace. I lied, one additional thing. So when making this character, cast on crit is pretty broken right now, at least damage-wise, if you can sustain it. But you can't really sustain it unless you have instant leech on a blood mage. Because even though I have 7k mana, if I'm running double cast on crit, which if I ran a scepter with close to 200 spirit, I could run 2 cast on crit setups, and I could proc 4 arcs every whatever quarter of a second. But if I were to do that, the amount of mana that I spend is astronomical. Like with a double cast on crit setup, I'm probably spending 5,000 mana per second, and so I mean, sure, if I have a legacy melding, I can instantly refill 7 times because I can use the flask 7 times. But if you don't, not in legacy world, you can't do that. But it's just to say that uh, there is a possibility that you run a high spirit scepter in the offhand, run 2 cast on crit setups, and you basically take away plus levels on all your pieces and put in whatever inspiration or something like that to reduce the amount of mana. If you're not having the Temporalis and Choir combination. Peace.